Alrighty, well, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Dauphiny and I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. And it's my pleasure to present our speaker for today in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month for May, and that is Natasha Parrish St. Amant. She is a trained and licensed mental health therapist and author with 24 years of experience. She works to help others increase confidence, encourages emotional healing, and promotes positive mental wellness. Natasha has worked with organizations from New York to Nigeria to increase mental health, wellness, and to help others identify the power within. She has partnered with CoverGirl, MTV, the Department of Employment Services of Washington, D.C., Virginia Community College, and other organizations to help individuals learn to live the best version of themselves. So we welcome you, Natasha. Natasha is going to be talking about the imposter syndrome and how to kind of empower yourself, specifically in the workplace. So this is a fantastic program for a lot of people that we have on the call that are currently employed and learning how to better yourself so that you can be a more productive in what you do. Before we jump into her presentation, I just have a few housekeeping items to go over. First and foremost, we will be taking your questions at the end of Natasha's talk today, but please feel free to submit them at any time using the Q&A or the chat features in the Zoom dashboard. At the end, Natasha also has some questions for you, so if you could provide her with some feedback in the chat, that would be appreciative for that. And we also have a survey available at the end of the webinar. So if you have time, we ask that you please complete the survey. We always appreciate any and all feedback that you can give us. If you want some more information about Natasha and her work, you can visit natashaparrishspeaks.com. And there is a bit.ly link there that I will send out in the chat, and that'll be a link to one of her works. So if you're interested in learning more, you certainly have the opportunity to purchase some of her material. So one last thing is just to go over a brief overview of the Zoom dashboard. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a PC or a Mac. If you're using a mobile device, the dashboard may look a little bit different, but all of the features will still be there. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can check your audio settings to make sure that your listening device is connected properly, especially if you're using a headset or earbuds. In the middle, there is a raise hand button. You can click on that and that'll alert me. I will send you a message in Zoom and hopefully be able to resolve any problems that you are having. And if you do have questions or if you do want to participate, there is the Q&A and the chat buttons. You can use either of them to get in touch with us. And as far as questions, we'll be happy to address them at the end of her presentation. So that is everything that I have for you. It is my pleasure now to turn it over to Natasha. It looks like you're muted still.
Oh, I'm super excited. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Parrish St. Amant. Thank you so very much, Andrew, for that warm introduction. I'm excited about just jumping right into this information because remember, there's information for everyone. And from what research has been said, there are a lot of individuals dealing with this topic at hand. So let's jump right into this presentation. I'm excited to be before you. And so let's go. Okay. Hold on as I share my screen. Okay, fantastic. All right, so yes, Andrew, we can see it, right? It's definitely there for everyone.
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay, fantastic. Let me take off the captions. Should we leave the captions on or should we?
I would leave them off for right now.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everyone, let's get started. Okay, let's welcome how to combat imposter syndrome. Oh my goodness. And we'll talk about what that looks like. And of course, my goal is to make sure that you have actionable steps, things that you can do today, not tomorrow, not next week, but what you can do today to combat that imposter syndrome. And we'll talk a little bit about where it comes from, okay? So the objective is to explore imposter syndrome, action steps to healing, emotional wholeness. And as a licensed clinician, as a podcaster, as a social media influencer, my biggest goal is to ensure that every individual that I speak to walk away better than I met them. I'm going to say that again, better than I met them. And so hopefully at the end of this presentation, you will feel a level of confidence and you'll feel more purposeful as a leader, Okay, so imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? It is a psychological pattern of thought. It is a thought that you have, and sometimes it can become obsessive thoughts about whether you qualify, right? Qualify for that position. You're doubting your skills, you're doubting your talent, you're doubting your accomplishments, okay? And symptoms include fear of being a fraud. Fear of being exposed as a fraud. You may have all of the credentials, you may have all of the licensing and the experience and years of doing the work. But once you're up there at that level, whether it's managerial, whether it is at the C-suite level, you feel like you don't deserve that success. Like, oh my goodness, are they going to find out that I'm not qualified? When in fact, you are more than qualified. And there's levels of inadequacy, self-doubt, and then, of course, anxiety that comes as a result of feeling like you don't belong. So primarily high performers, leaders, managers are the most liable to experiencing this psychological pattern because they do, and it drives them to push harder and perform even more. And to others, they are worthy and deserving of their title. This is just Forbes of this year, because research has been really pulling out information from people who are saying, this is me. And there are articles, tons of articles that talk about this need for individuals to build themselves up internally. But of course, there's some external factors that are contributing to some of those thoughts. Okay, and let's move on. What are the root causes? Let's talk about it. Low self-esteem, right? There are many individuals that I counsel in my private practice, and oftentimes they, like I said, they qualify to be in those positions, but there's some things that have happened in their past, whether it was in childhood, whether it was an experience or a trauma that may have occurred, which caused them to feel like, wait a minute, I don't deserve to be here. And then, of course, you have comparisons. Looking at your counterparts or your colleagues and saying, well, she's more equipped to handle these, these decisions, or he's better equipped and he doesn't compare to me, or she doesn't compare to me. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm not who they are. And then, of course, fear of failure, because you are given obligations and your responsibilities has become greater, and you say to yourself, I am so scared of failing, scared of letting those people who hired me to do the job. I'm scared of letting them down. Right? So there's and it becomes isolating. It becomes very thought-provoking in the way that it really eats you from the inside out. Okay. And of course, perfectionism, right? Wanting everything to be 100% perfect, right? That line is a bit crooked. Oh no, I'm going to erase it and I'm going to draw it again. Overworking yourself. And this is what I find quite often are individuals who say, if I work hard enough, then I can eradicate those thoughts that I have within myself. If I just work hard enough, if I come in at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. and I leave at 9 o'clock at night, then I can eradicate those thoughts. But of course, what we know for sure is that when you are doing that, you are overexerting yourself to such a degree that you are not good for for yourself or anyone that you're supporting, because you are tired. You're mentally exhausted. You're physically exhausted. You can't provide that level of support to your colleagues or those you supervise, and of course, your family. And then, of course, we have attribution bias. If you do great work and you are appraised for it, you say, well, oh my goodness, that was luck. That was not me. It was just pure luck. I don't know how I did that. How did I complete that project? But then if you failed and you did not meet the mark in your mind, it has all to do with who you are truly as a person. And I'm here to say to you that imposter syndrome, if it's unaddressed, it can decrease your level of confidence. Of course, as I said before, it can increase burnout, underperformance, relationships with those who you work with and those who you live with. I'm going to say that again. Those you work with and those you live with, because you are mentally and physically exhausted and you can't attend to your child's t-ball game because you're not physically present, or you're just not emotionally present as well. And then unemployment, voluntarily or involuntarily. You feel like you don't meet the qualifications. You decided, you say to yourself, well, I went over my head, and you know what, maybe I should bow out gracefully or involuntarily, because you decide that you can't go to work because you're so tired. And then of course what happens is that you underperform. And what happens as a result? They say, well, you know what? Maybe this was a mistake. And they decide to say to you, you know, I think it's time that we part ways. Mental health issues. That goes without saying. Anxiety, depression, sleepless nights, overeating or undereating, failed relationships, and of course, suicidal ideation. And the reason why I speak on that as a clinician is that I've had clients in the C-suite who I provide support for, and they said that they thought about it because they thought that it just wasn't going to get better. It was not going to get better. And, you know, what I often say is that it can get better. It can get better. But how do we move out of this imposter syndrome? First, we have to, of course, we have to recognize and acknowledge that it exists. You have to say to yourself, what is it about my own behavior that's causing me to feel like this? Recognize it, see it for what it is. If you are having sleepless nights, start questioning why. And then, of course, acknowledge it. Say, you know what? I believe that things that are happening to me I'm self-inflicting harm on myself. And as I said, of course, there are external biases, discrimination, or being compared to others that may contribute to that imposter syndrome. But you're keeping it alive in your mind. And so recognizing it and acknowledging it is the first step. The second step is reframing from negative thoughts. One of the things that I do, I have a formula. It's called my self-empowerment formula. And what I say oftentimes is that you have the ability, the power that lives within you to eradicate those thoughts. Because remember, those thoughts will come, but the objective of you, the power that you have, is that you can stop those thoughts, because those thoughts will come and it will beget a feeling, an emotion. And then it will then dictate your behavior. And then that behavior becomes habitual. And so it's very important that you reframe that negative thought. So when that negative thought comes, you stop it right here. And you say, no, I am not that. I am qualified for that position. And what I often ask individuals to do is start affirming what is. Start affirming that you belong. And even if you have to write it on an index card, that's usually some of my homework assignments, my empowerment assignments to my clients. And I'm going to say that to you as well. If you are dealing with negative thoughts about your qualifications, about who you really are, it's so vital for you to affirm that by consistently having that information in front of you. Whether you are writing it on an index card and saying, I belong here, and repeating that every morning and every night, because it's a muscle that you have to work. And also saying, I am not my negative thoughts. So I'm giving you a homework assignment already. I'm saying to you that if you are dealing with thoughts that say the opposite of who you really are, which is the greatest version of yourself, and you're working towards that, then I will ask that you write 5 statements, very simple statements on an index card. And you can place those index cards either on your refrigerator, on your mirror in your bathroom, and you repeatedly affirm what is that you belong here, that you have all of the qualifications to do the job, that you're powerful, that you're loved. The third is set realistic goals. What I know for sure is that oftentimes when individuals are in these positions, they often set unrealistic goals for themselves. Hear me what I say. They set unrealistic goals for themselves. What does that look like, for example? That might be saying to yourself, I know that I have 3 projects that I have to complete by the ending of the week, but I've decided to take on the 4th one. And I know I can complete all 4 of them. Why? Let's ask ourselves, why are you trying to complete 4 projects where you know that you're struggling with 2? That is a question, right? So the intent is to set realistic goals, to set realistic goals. And I'm just looking through the chat. Let's see. Okay, I see what you're saying. Thank you so much, James. Okay. It's hard. Negative thoughts, okay, they nag you. Okay, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and absolutely, and being transparent and being transparent. Okay, yes. All right. In addition to that, celebrate your achievements. But before you celebrate your achievements. It's so important for you to be kind to yourself. You know the saying, we are our worst critic, right? We are often saying negative things to ourselves. So now flip the script and start speaking life into your own life. I'm going to say that again. Start speaking life into your own life by being kind to you, right? Because you can't expect others to be kind to you if you are not kind to yourself. And then, of course, celebrate those achievements. No matter how grand it is or how small it is. If you completed a task, that's a grand achievement. But if you went to bed early, that's an achievement. Because what I often say is that there are things that you have to do on a daily basis in order for you to be functional. And I'm gonna just say that, and I didn't write that in my PowerPoint, but the 5 things that you should always do is you should at least get 6 hours, nothing less than 6 hours, 6 or more hours of sleep, nothing more than 8, because you'll be too tired. Okay? You need to get sleep because you cannot function without sleep. The body will shut itself down. You need to drink as at least half your body weight. When I say half your body weight of water, that means if you weigh 100 pounds, you should be drinking at least 50 ounces of water daily. I'm going to say it again, 50 ounces of water daily. If you work out, you add 20 ounces to that. Third, manage your stress. Manage your stress, which then becomes 4, but working out at least 3 to 4 times a week, getting at least 30 to 40 minutes of activity, getting the blood flowing, getting the heart beating, right? Because it's a muscle. And then what we know for sure is that physical activity produces serotonin in the brain, which are those good hormones, right? Right? And it gives us clarity as we're doing the task that we know we have to complete. All right. And then number 5 is having a balanced meal. I know I've been there. I'm an executive in my own business, right? And I know what that looks like oftentimes when you don't have time to eat. But it is important that you become intentional. Intentional with what? Eating. At least, I know you're going to say this, 5 meals. Yes, Natasha Paris. Yes, I'm saying that. 5 meals, and that looks like a breakfast. And after breakfast, maybe a snack, right? We want to continue to get the metabolism going and burning fat. Greek yogurt or a banana or an apple, lunch, and then a small snack, a handful of almonds, and then dinner, right? And so we want to be very intentional about the things that we are doing. So, of course, we celebrate our achievements. Practice self-compassion. It is so vital that we practice self-compassion. How do we practice self-compassion? If someone can put it in the chat, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Yes, Katrina, we are our worst enemy or critic. Yes, someone can put it in the chat. What does that look like when you are practicing self-compassion? Yes, okay. Self-compassion looks like not beating yourself up. It means having a routine in the morning. It means saying, it's okay. It's okay that you did not get that project completed. Taking care of you, doing something that you love, right? For me, it's dancing around the house. I love it. I mean, that's my happy place, right? Taking care of yourself, but also doing the things that you enjoy. That is self-compassion, and not, like I said, not beating yourself up for the things that you feel like you did not complete. Mindfulness and meditation. Oh, that is a big one. I'm also a mindful meditation instructor, and I utilize this activity to support decreasing stress, increasing clarity of mind, right? And yes, Carol, journaling your thoughts and feelings, absolutely. Getting it out on paper. Thank you for that, Carol. Mindful meditation, what does that often look like? That often looks like you finding a quiet space, even if it's in your pantry and you have children running around and you feel like there's no place you can hide. I remember those days, right? Finding a safe, quiet place and really focusing on your breath. Mindful meditation, it's important for you to understand that taking a deep breath and filling your lungs and then exhaling through your mouth truly really releases stress. And so what does that look like? It looks like closing your eyes, having your hands, your palms up, because you're receiving something amazing, and taking a deep breath in, filling your lungs, flattening up your stomach, and then holding it for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then releasing slowly until your shoulders drop down. Doing that again, taking a deep breath in and releasing. I hope that I did not ask that you follow me, but I hope that you were doing it without my request. Okay, so practicing mindful meditation, focusing on your breath, releasing stress, doing this at least once a day for, 10 minutes a day. But when you get really good, you could do it for a whole hour. You're wondering, where do you have the time? You have time, right? Because it's all about whether you make time for the things that you enjoy doing. Professional help. Being in a place where you say, I acknowledge that there are things that I'm doing. I acknowledge that there are things that I feel I need support with, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. Professional help, a person like myself, what we often say is that, I don't give advice, but what I do is I show you the mirror of who you are. I'm gonna say that again. I pull up a mirror, figuratively, and I ask you to look at yourself. And it's when you look at yourself, you begin to say, why am I beating myself up about the things that really I shouldn't be doing? And so seeking professional help from a person that's trained in this area of expertise can really help you move down this journey of healing and support. I often say it's easier to get some help. When I say that, it's easier for someone outside of you to support you rather than you be in your own head all by yourself trying to figure it out. Put a 100 in the chat if all of what I am saying is resonating with you and it's making sense. Just put a 100 in the chat. Put a 100 in the chat. Oh, I see those hundreds. Fantastic. I see you, Alexis. I see you, Nia. I see you, Miss West. I see you, Jen. Yes, fantastic. I see you, Katie and Joan. Because the goal is to get you to become the best version of yourself. And if you stay in that place that you are in right now, time continues to tick. And you cannot capture the time that was lost when you were in your head, doubting your abilities, doubting whether you are deserving of this wonderful life. Yes, I'm going to say that again. This doubting whether this is for you. Time waits for no one. We've heard that saying. So it's important for you, if this is what's happening, get some help. If this is what you're feeling, start journaling. If this is how you're constantly beating yourself up, start practicing self-compassion. I get passionate about this work just because, and don't get scared. Look, I'm a New Yorker and I'm West Indian, so we bring the passion, we bring the energy. And as a result, when you're doing all of these things, there's a sense of emotional wholeness that comes about. There's a sense of emotional wholeness that comes about. If you recognize and acknowledge what is happening, you reframe your negative thoughts. You reframe those thoughts that say that you are not good enough. And I'm going to give an example as it relates to negative thoughts. One of the exercises and activities that I've done on so many occasions with my clients is I say to them, when that thought comes, do you sit, and I ask them that question, do you sit and watch the movie in your head? And what does that mean? That means that you are literally watching, you're sitting in your space and you're watching this whole movie play out, because the movie has suspense, It has horror, it has comedy, it has romance. And you might as well pull out some popcorn and start watching the movie because it's better than Netflix in your head, right? So what do? Oftentimes people say, you know what, Natasha, I actually do watch that movie in my head. And I say, well, today is going to stop. Okay, because time, like I said, does not wait for anyone. And so, how do you reframe that negative thought? You have to reset your thoughts. How do you do that? When that negative thought comes, you immediately do something. And what is that something? You reset your thought pattern. What does that look like? And I'm going to use it in the driving analogy. In order for you to move forward, you have to take your foot off the brake. But in order for you to move backwards, you press on the brake and you switch gears. You switch gears. And that is, using that analogy, you're going to switch gears. How do you press on the brake in your head and switch gears? You see the thoughts, the movie that's coming through your mind. You stop it by saying no, and you either count backwards, starting at 20 by threes, not by ones, because our brain, it's on default. It can count 1, 2, 3, 4 without thinking. But when I ask you to count backwards by threes, or check this out, I often ask my clients, I say, why don't you do this? Why don't you say your alphabets backwards? They're like, what? Of course, because you have to think. You have to think. And when your mind is distracted from the negative thought, now you're focused on, how do I say my alphabets backwards? Z, X, Y. Come on now. I think that's the farthest I can go. Okay. And so when you are resetting your mind, you have to do something that your brain is not used to doing. Okay. Yes. And yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Katrina. Okay. And so you're resetting your mind. You're resetting your thoughts. And when you're resetting your thoughts, now you can start over by saying to yourself, okay, I'm not accepting that. I can do this. But you have to switch gears. You have to switch gears. And let's talk about that self-compassion like we've talked about already. Being in a place where there's a level of gratitude, saying, I've done this, I've done that, I graduated at the top of my class, I'm here. Start recognizing all of the great things that you are doing. Saying to yourself out loud, and it's not about boasting. It really is not about boasting. It's about you making a decision to say that you are here and you are here for a purpose and you are meant to be here. Does everyone hear what I'm saying? Right? Okay. And like I said, setting realistic goals, and of course, celebrating your achievements. Now, leadership in the making. Once you understand this concept, because it's simple, it's not rocket science. These are things that you can do right now. Things that you can do right now that can get you to a place where you're on now. And I use the analogy of the yellow brick road. The yellow brick road in The Wizard of Oz, right? And so on the yellow brick road, you are meeting amazing individuals because you have a goal. But while you're journeying, you're learning more about yourself. And so now that you switch gears and you're now on the yellow brick road that's going to take you to the next level, you're now a leader in the making. And you may say, I'm already a leader. But the problem was that you did not believe it. The problem was that you did not believe that you were a leader. So now you truly are a leader in the making. Absolutely, absolutely. And so how do you become that leader? By becoming the leader of your life first. How can you lead someone when you are having difficulty leading yourself? I'm going to say that again. How can you lead others when you yourself are having an enormous amount of difficulty leading yourself? And so let's talk more about that, okay? All right, so what I know for sure is mental keys to becoming emotionally whole. It is reflecting often. Reflect on all of the great things that you've done, recognizing who you are, smiling often, being authentic. Oh my goodness. Being authentic, because who you are is something amazing. And there's only one of you on this planet. Even if you are a twin, you may look alike, but your fingerprints are different. Yes, smile. There we go, Carol. Love on yourself. I can't stress this enough. Too often we're so busy. We're worried about everyone else's behaviors or what they're doing. And we're always so worried about making sure that everyone else is okay. But you have to get to the place where you say, and I know I've said it many a times for my clients, and when I do my lives on social media, I say it's important for you to decide to become the superhero in your own story by loving on you. Becoming the superhero. Yes, you are always about saving everyone else, but it is now the time for you to save you. And that comes from you making a ultimate and purposeful decision by saying, I am going to save myself. I am going to make intentional thoughts. I'm going to have intentional thoughts. I'm going to have intentional actions by loving on me. Yes, okay? Because we want to, thank you so much, James. We want to save everyone else. But how can you save yourself or save everyone else when you are lacking the power to save yourself? You know, when you're on the plane, for those who travel like I do, they often say if the oxygen mask falls, you know, if there's a crisis or a situation and the oxygen mask happens to fall down, that happens, but it will, and you have a child sitting next to you, you do not put the mask on the child first. You put the mask on yourself first. Why? Who knows why? If you have a child sitting next to you, why are you putting the mask on yourself first? Put it in the chat. Tell me why. Who knows? Why do you put the mask on you first before those you are carrying who are sitting next to you? Let's see. Okay, I'm waiting. I guess people are, okay, so I'm gonna tell you, okay, what? Oh, there we go. Here it is. I see you, Lisa. You can't save anyone if you can't breathe. Absolutely. You are unconscious, but yet the child is just has all this energy, right? Okay. And so Jay says, so you are in shape to help others. Absolutely. Danny says, help yourself so you can be help to others. Absolutely. You guys are on it. It's important for you to be there for you first, because when you are there for you, oh my goodness, you have all the energy and the strength to care for others. Say thank you often. Thank you often to those who assist you, right? Say thank you. Because there's something about saying thank you. There's that energy force that's connected to thank you. Because it's all about a genuine compassion that's being sent out. And when you send out compassion, or when you send out accolades or just acknowledgement of something that someone has done, it's a boomerang effect. It comes right back to you. But also say thank you to you as well. Not just always others, but of course always others, but make sure to have that boomerang come back to you by saying thank you to you. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, James. Thank you, Danny. Saying it to yourself. I know it sounds a little odd. It's something that you may have never heard before, but there's definitely some positive forces that are present when you say thank you to you. Because now you're increasing your self-esteem, you're increasing your level of confidence, and also you are now stepping on those thoughts of that you don't belong. And now you're killing, right? Taking it out from the root, that whole imposter syndrome that you may be dealing with. So with that said, we are going to take some questions. I know this time has gone by so quickly. All right. I would like you to put it in the chat. The first question is, what resonated with you the most about this topic of imposter syndrome? That's the first question. What resonated with you the most about this topic of imposter syndrome? Put it in the chat. I would love to hear from you. Put my finger on the pulse and see how others are receiving this valuable information. Negative self-talk. Thank you, Alexis. Okay. So what is it about the negative self-talk? I know that when we are in a webinar, you're not able to speak, but only chat. Okay. I guess this is the negative self-talk that you do to yourself. Hi, you say, Jen says, how I am not alone feeling this way. Exactly. You are not alone. You thought that you were the only one, Jen? Well, I have news for you. So many individuals deal with the thoughts that they're an imposter, that they are a fraud. And according to the Forbes article, it says that close to about specifically women too, right? It really is higher, and we're talking about 82%. That's a large number. So yes, you are not alone. There's so many individuals who feel like you feel. Anyone else? What resonated the most about this topic of imposter syndrome? Okay, Lisa says, I have never ever heard of the term, but have felt it before. You felt it before. And now you have an actual label to put on it, right? Only now at my age am I getting over it and feeling like I'm 100% legit in every aspect of my life. You are 100% legit. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else before we move on to the next question? Anyone else? You're probably in the process of typing right now. Okay. All right. Second question. Second question is, what behaviors will you change today as a result? What behaviors will you change today as a result of listening to this information? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, what behaviors will you change? What will you do differently? I know oftentimes people say the behaviors that they often want to change is how they see their thoughts. Oh, Carol says how she's procrastinated on doing and on writing in her journal for a long time. Okay, well, today you're going to start. Even if it's just one sentence. Let me say this. The hardest part is getting started, my friends. The hardest part is getting started. Alexa said, make more realistic expectations of yourself. Yes, absolutely. You're not subhuman. You're not you are extraordinary, but you're not a robot. Come on now. Danny says reframing negative thoughts is a key. Reframe those thoughts. You have the power to do that within you. I want you to know that you are a powerful, powerful individual, because I believe that we are, and you might disagree, but I truly believe that we are spiritual beings living a human existence. I'm going to say that again. We are spiritual beings living a human existence. This is just the shell. But we are powerful beyond all measures if we understand who we are. And if you know that, then you're more willing to do such great things. Okay, you would love to follow this chat up with an email. You want to process this all. Oh, you have more to say about this experience. I hope it was all of value, because I know that when I do these presentations, thank you so much, James, for your feedback. When I do these presentations, one thing I know for sure is that there are people that actually walk away with a different mindset, just doing things slightly different. Okay. I am, you can get my book on pre-order. It's called Own Your Power. It's called Own Your Power, unlocking your leadership potential. And, what did I say? Okay. Because I have 2 books out. All right. And dismantling that imposter syndrome. Dismantling that imposter syndrome, owning your own power. You can go to that QR code and you can pre-order my book. It's $4.99 if you pre-order today. But when the book is released in September, the price goes up. And it's an amazing activity workbook that gives you more information about what is imposter syndrome, ways to remove those barriers and actually do things right at that moment to challenge and combat those thoughts, and things that you will do for a lifetime, because those thoughts will come back. Absolutely, those thoughts will come back, but you will now have the skills, the strategies, the coping mechanisms to combat those thoughts and not entertain those thoughts. I'm telling you, this book is a game changer. It really is a game changer. All right, so let me leave that up for a little while, just in case. Let me go back. You can go to that. You can scan that to pre-order your book. It's called Own Your Power. And like I said, you have the power to do amazing things if you just know what your power is. It's just like that superhero that doesn't often really accept who they really are, someone that's extraordinary, and they usually don't know how to use their powers, right? It's always out of whack, right? They're either doing it too much or too little. But once they are well familiar with who they are, then they can do some extraordinary things. And that's what I believe for you. That's exactly what I believe for you. All right, let's take additional questions before we move on. Any addition, and I'm going to stop sharing. Well, before I stop sharing, here's my information. You can follow me. I also have a podcast, which I talk all about emotional wholeness. I talk about mental health as it relates to physical activity, as it relates to relationships, as it relates to not only relationships, as it relates to employment, as it relates to your children, right? Mental health and emotional wholeness is threaded through every topic of discussion. And if you have experienced levels of loss or grief and you're still trying to make your way through all of that, this podcast is for you. If you're an individual that struggles with negative thought, negative self-talk, this is, you said, okay, I don't see the contact information. You can go to the QR code and scan the information, or you can go to NatashaParisSpeaks.com. Natasha, Natasha, Paris, Paris, Speaks, SPAKS. Thank you so much, Andrew.com. and all of my information will be there as well. Okay, so let's, and I celebrate you. So let's celebrate you. All right, and thank you so very much. So before we close, we have maybe about 10 minutes, and I'll use 5 of those minutes to answer any questions that you may have. And then Andrew, the floor is yours. So I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Do we have any questions in the chat? Was some of the information a bit confusing? Again, what resonated for you? Would you like to see a part 2 to this topic? Because there's so much to talk about, but because of time, we want to respect your time, and we try to fit in a whole lot of information in a little bit of time. Oh, you would definitely love a part 2. Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. That might be in the works, okay? Because we can delve in a bit deeper. Yes, thank you, Katrina. Yes, fantastic. Thank you, Larcinia West. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And if I'm not, I apologize in advance. I apologize in advance, okay? All right, yes, a part 2, absolutely. Because oftentimes, in order, especially if this is your first time hearing this topic or hearing this concept, you have lots of questions and you're trying to catch up. You're like, okay, I'm trying to process all this information. Okay. Hi, Susan. You said you had a question. You can go ahead and type it in the chat if you have a question. And I know it's a lot of information to digest all at once, but I want you to know that if you do have additional questions beyond this webinar, please, Andrew will send you a follow-up email. In addition to that, I have, as a gift to every participant that participated in this webinar, I have a 12-month emotional wholeness calendar. Oh my goodness. This calendar is it's like it includes journaling. So it gives you a task per month on what to do, whether it is you caring for yourself, and for every day of that specific month, there is a task as it relates to wellness. Yes. And for another month, it may be combating anxiety and things that you can do each day of that month that you can purposefully and intentionally do. And so that is my gift to you, free of cost. It will be a downloadable link, and that will be sent to you in the follow-up email. And so with that said, I'm super excited to have been your guide on this journey to success, as well as renewal, resetting. And one thing that I will also say, always remember the 3 C's when it comes to your life. And I'm going to leave you with this. The first is make a commitment. Make a commitment that you are on this yellow brick road, that you have made the decision that you are going to seek support, that you are going to really increase your self-esteem, okay? So make a commitment. Second, be consistent with it. Because oftentimes people say, I want something and I'm going to do it today. But then 2 weeks later, they forgot all about it. Those New Year's resolutions, right? Right? You say, this is what I'm going to do. You get so excited, but then consistency falls to the wayside. So I say, be committed and be consistent. That's when you'll begin to see results. It doesn't happen overnight. And then third, have the courage. Have the courage. And the definition of courage is when you are scared or you are hesitant about doing something, do it anyways. Do it anyways. That's the definition of courage, right? So commitment, consistency, and be bold and courageous to do the things that you know is going to benefit you, even though you're scared. And so with that said, I'm super excited to have been your host. And I thank you so very much for this opportunity to get to know you. And please, of course, make sure that you get to know you and remove those barriers of imposter syndrome so you can live the best version of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. What a fantastic presentation. Um, I encourage everybody to follow up on Natasha if you have more questions or if you want to inquire maybe about services or anything else, please do follow up with her. And if you want to get a copy of some of her older works or her new book, please feel free to do so as well. I'd just like to thank you again, Natasha, and thank everybody for attending today. Just close with everybody be safe, be well, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.